Hi everybody, and welcome to the third installment of Get Organized with Dr. Kane. Today I'm going to introduce you to a French composer, Charles-Marie Widor, and I'm going to play for you his most iconic work for organ called the Toccata from Symphony V. Widor was born in Lyon, France in 1844 of a very musical family, organ building family. And the family was befriended by a very prominent organ builder named Aristide Cavaille-Coll. Cavaille-Coll recognized in the young Widor an amazing talent and suggested to the family that they send Widor to Belgium, Brussels, Belgium, to study with Jacques Lemon, which they did. Over the course of his studies, the most important thing that came out of that study was Widor's study of Bach as improvisation, as a tool for improvisation, as well as for his technique. When he returned to France, he was sent to Paris, where at the age of 24, he became the assistant organist to Camille Saint-Saëns, and at his church in the Madeleine. And if you know Saint-Saëns, you might recognize the name. He's the one that composed the Danse Macabre, the Dance of Death, and he also composed the Carnival of the Animals. About 1 year after that, Saint-Saëns, Gounod, another French composer, and Cavaille-Coll lobbied for the young Widor, now about 25 years old, to become the provisional organist at probably the most prominent church in Paris, Saint-Sulpice. Well, the provisional organist became an organist for 64 years. And I would like to mention also that Widor, after the death of César Franck in 1890, Widor became a professor of organ at the Paris Conservatory. This is interesting because César Franck, when he taught organ to his students, was very laid back. He didn't have a set curriculum for his students, and they really liked that. He was very free, and oftentimes he would ask his students for suggestions about how he should compose something, and so they had a very nice relationship in that it was very familial. Now, in comes Widor, and Widor insists that the students learn Bach for technique and for the improvisation as an improvisational tool. Well, they were quite taken aback, and I imagine it took them quite a while to get used to this new teacher. At any rate, I want to mention something about Cavaille-Coll that's extremely important to Widor. You can't talk about Cavaille-Coll without Widor, and you can't talk about Widor without Cavaille-Coll. The instruments that Cavaille-Coll created were what we would call symphonic instruments. Cavaille-Coll stepped outside of the box of the traditional European organs. And now think about Bach and like his fugues and things like that, which are have a lot of counterpoint, a lot of different voices that need to be heard. So the instrument itself had to be very crisp and clean. While the instrument of Cavaille-Coll had a symphonic sound, he wanted to recreate the sounds of a lot of instruments that were heard in the orchestra. And so he took sounds and he either made them completely different. He found some new string sounds, some new reed sounds. And so this created an instrument for which a new language needed to be created. In fact, Widor said of the Cavaille-Coll organ, he said, "The new organ requires a new language," for which Widor created this new language. And the new language was really in his 10 symphonies that he wrote. Now, when you think of a symphony, you think of an orchestra, but really what the word symphony means is that it's the quality of all of these different symphonic sounds that come together. The structure of the work is not so much symphonic as it is the quality of the sounds that you hear. So again, Cavaille-Coll and Widor really had to be discussed in one breath. And I would like to finally mention that before I play it, let's go to Bach and how, as I mentioned earlier, Widor was really one person that brought Bach back into the light and used Bach. And he was with Albert Schweitzer, one of his students. He was the editor of one of the first 5 volumes of Bach's music. So Bach was extremely influential for Widor. And I wanted to mention something that I think is special for me is that for an organist, it's important to know your lineage. And you want to know, so who did I study with and who did my teacher study with? And it's kind of fun to go back and find out whose family tree you're in. So I asked my professor, Andre Lash from UNC Greensboro, who he studied with, and it turns out that I am in the lineage of Charles-Marie Widor. So let me explain. Charles-Marie Widor taught Marcel Dupré. In fact, Dupré was followed in his footsteps at Saint-Sulpice. So Widor to Dupré, to Arthur Poyster, to Andre Lash, to Pam Kane. So I'm really proud to say that I am in the lineage of Widor. Now, let me bring you over to look at this score. I want you to see the score of the piece. And as I tried to show last week, and it was a little hard to show in my, my John Knowles Payne score, the organist reads 2 staffs for the hands. These 2 staffs here are for the hands. And then this staff down here that doesn't have any notes in it here is for the pedal. And you'll see that I wrote all over my music, calm. I wrote all these notes to myself. And the reason it's so important for me to stay calm is because Widor himself spoke about people who played this piece too fast. He wanted the music to be nice, crisp, and clean. So for me, it's difficult sometimes to find the balance of the excitement of the toccata, but also keep it under control. So that's a really difficult thing to do. So remaining calm at all times is the rule. Just going to point out where the pedal does come in. The pedal comes in here. And I'll just show you one more thing. You see lots of notes. Lots of notes. One other thing about the pedal here is that he has what's called a double pedal. The theme is played in your feet, and it's a double pedal. In other words, your right foot and your left foot play at the same time. All right, so I think what I'll do is just show you that double pedal. I'll just play that line for you, and then we'll go to the next video where you'll get to hear the whole work.